Hello everyone, excuse the lighting, I'm quickly filming this video before I head off to work. So, as you can tell from the title, today is going to be my April, May and June wrap up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 books, but one is technically a novella, so it's like 7.5 books that I read over 3 months. But also during this time, I was working full-time, quit my job, was applying for courses, still working full part-time. I don't know, it was like casually, but like a lot of the time. So I haven't really had much time to read. So yeah, and I also haven't had much time to film and upload and edit and everything for videos. So this is why we're filming one before I head off to work, because then I can edit it tonight. Let's get into this video. So the first 2 books I read in April. I think April, maybe. I don't know. Can't remember. I think it was April, because that's the start of this video. It was April. I read City of Bones and City of Ashes, both by Cassandra Clare, which are part of the Mortal Instruments series. And I gave City of Bones 4 stars and City of Ashes 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars. And the series follows Clary, I don't know how to pronounce her name. It literally isn't a show, but it follows her. She doesn't know anything about the shadow world, I think that's what it's called. And so, yeah, like she's like this normal person. She turns 18 and all of a sudden she's seeing witches, warlocks and shadow hunters and all this stuff that she hasn't seen her whole life. And so, you know, she's being introduced into this world. And yeah, I don't know actually how else to explain this book, but like this book series without spoiling anything. But she's basically introduced into the shadow world, becomes a shadow hunter. This pretty much happens in like the first few chapters of the first book, so it's not really a spoiler. But I don't know. I don't know how to explain these books without spoiling it, and I'm really bad at explaining books as well, so I'm just gonna put those up here and you can't even see one. Then I read Good Girl Bad Blood, and then also I read another book between these, but I also read Killjoy, which are both by Holly Jackson, and they're both in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. This is a novella that's taken place before the whole events of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and it's just a 1920s like murder mystery party. It's not even like a murder mystery party, it is a murder mystery party, and it's I think like 120 pages. I read this in a day. Obviously it's quite short, so yeah, I read that. And then Good Girl Bad Blood, so it follows Pip, who has made her own podcast following the events of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and someone close to her goes missing, so she's investigating that on her podcast while also doing updates from the events that happen in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So, you know, you're following that. It's kind of easy to like explain this, because it's like this is the only series I think you can explain all the books without spoiling the past book and also spoiling the current book of the series. But yeah, this one I think I gave this 5 stars and I gave this 3 stars, but I think you can't really give a novella when it's this short anything higher than that. And also I don't think it deserved higher than that, purely because I predicted everything pretty much from the get-go. So, but every other book in the series I haven't predicted anything, so, but I've only read 2 of them so far, so. But A Good Girl's Guide to Murder so far is a 5-star series, so. And after Good Girl Bad Blood, but before Killjoy, I read Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. This is the second book in the Knock 'Em Out series, and this follows Nash and Lena. Nash is Knox from the first book's brother, and Lena is his like ex-girlfriend. I don't know how to explain their relationship. They are like exes, but they're more friends now and everything, so. But Nash is the cop from this small town Knock 'Em Out, and Lena is like a private investigator, I think is what her career is. And they're both investigating the same case, but for different reasons. So you get to explore that. It's kind of like enemies to lovers, but they're like friends, lovers, and then something happens and they become enemies and they hate each other until like I think this point in the book, maybe, like they don't like each other for quite a bit, but then they fall in love, obviously, because it's romance. But this one I also gave 5 stars. I gave the first one in the series also 5 stars, and so far 5-star series, and the third book comes out I think September. And then I read One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one I gave 4 stars. This follows Emma, and so in her 20s, early 20s, she has her high school sweetheart who she ends up marrying, so they end up getting married, and then a year later, after their wedding, almost a year, like, I think it's the day before their wedding anniversary, her high school sweetheart gets into a helicopter accident and he's presumed dead. So I think 3 or something years later, she meets and falls in love with her high school best friend, and I don't know how to explain books, I really suck, but so she meets him, they fall in love, they get engaged, and then one day they're at a dinner with her parents and the fiance, and she gets a call from her high school sweetheart / husband saying, actually, I'm alive, they found me finally. And then you follow her trying to figure out who she wants to stay with and whose heart she's going to break and all this kind of thing. Because, like, obviously, if you're in a relationship with 2 people, one's your husband and one's your fiance, you're going to have to break someone's heart because you can't be with both of them. But I gave this 4 stars. Wasn't exactly 5-star material, but it was a really good book. I enjoyed it. And then I read Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. Both Twisted Hate and One True Loves were on my June TBR. This one I think I gave 4 stars as well. Basically this one follows Jules and Josh. Josh is Ava from the first book's brother, and then Jules is her best friend. So basically they are enemies, like they despise each other, hate each other. It's like a true enemies to lovers, but not like fantasy high stakes. They just don't like each other, they despise each other. And then at I think like maybe this point they end up having like this sexual attraction to each other, and then about this point they end up actually like wanting to be in a relationship together, and then they end up, I think at this point, having something like a falling out where they don't like each other anymore and like they despise each other, and then finally like in the epilogue they get back together. So it's a really roller coaster of emotions, and I gave it 4 stars. Wasn't my favorite. Twisted Games is my favorite from the series so far. So yeah, but I would recommend the whole series, but Twisted Love is not my favorite. So anyway, so far so good. Then finally I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but this is following Violet Sorrengail, I think is how you pronounce her name, and she is forced by her mother to go into the writer's quadrant of this world. So basically there's like scribes, writers, healers, all these different quadrants, and her mum is a writer, so she's forced into it because her siblings were both writers, her mum's a writer, so she's forced into this quadrant that she doesn't want to be in. And everyone is like, you're not going to survive, we're going to kill you, or you're going to die before you even make it to the end of the year, where this big event happens. And so she's experiencing all this. It was so good. I don't even know how to explain this book without spoiling it. But this one I gave 5 stars. This wasn't on my July TBR, like in the video. Oh, not my July TBR. My June TBR that I put up on YouTube. I put a video up. But I brought this right after I filmed that book, that video. I brought this book right after I filmed that video, and everyone's been talking about it, and I had to read it. And I started reading it as soon as I brought it. And it took me an entire month to finish it. But not because it was bad, because obviously I gave it 5 stars, but because it's just a really thick fantasy. And I read romance and stuff in between my fantasy books, so yeah. But that is the final book I've read in June. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys all next week, hopefully, for another video. Bye guys!